Hey guys, how's it going? Rhage Lionpride here. I'm going to be going over my Stamplar PvP build that I've been running for the past week or so. I really enjoy it. Took some fine tuning to get everything to where I like it. So let's get started. Number one, I know I've been at Orc for a very long time. I recently switched to Red Guard just because heavy attacks being a very large part of my sustain, with blocking, basically negating that sustain, I decided to go with Red Guard. Also, the speed bonus was really nice. Unfortunately, constantly getting gap close snared, so we're still pretty quick because we're in 5 medium, but we're not as fast as an Orc, but we're a little bit faster than other people, and that helps. So going right into it, as you can see, this is my stat sheet here. This is without any rally or any buffs up or what have you. Just shy 35k stam on our offensive bar, 18.5k health outside of Cyrodiil. Our stam recovery is 1654, and then our weapon damage is 3472. We have the Warrior Stone. Go ahead and buff up real quick with just rally. And we're sitting at that 4k weapon damage mark, which is kind of like where I like to sit at for the most part. Back bar we do go down to 33 stam, but I'll explain why in a minute. So, sets that we're using, we have 5-piece Alchemist on our back bar, and then we have 5-piece Mechanical Acuity on our front bar, Nirnho and Axe, Infused Axe. I put a Disease enchant here because the Oblivion enchant's nice, but you get a chance to defile, and when they're not blocking it can crit and hits pretty hard. And then I have 3-piece Endurance, all weapon damage glyphs. So, I'm not running an Undaunted set just because I tried numerous Undaunted sets and I wasn't a huge fan of any of them. Like, Pirate Skeleton's nice, Troll King's nice, Bloodspawn's nice. But I decided to go ahead and get rid of the 2-piece and then functionally add a 3 and a 5-piece on there. Or just like a 3-piece, I guess, because most people are running 2 5-pieces. So, I'll go ahead and show you real quick what like the fully buffed stats are at. So I get 5600 weapon damage, like 140% crit, and then, you know, that recovery, it's like 1885. So it's pretty nice. It goes up to like 5600 and 2100 regen with continuous and whatnot. On our back bar, because we have Repentance, our recovery is a bit higher. And the big thing with Stamplar is if you're killing stuff, you can sustain really well. And Red Guard and this particular setup with Endurance kind of helps sustain all the other times. So going into skills real quick, I mean, your basic vigor. Rending slashes, you can do rending slashes as a blood craze. I like the snare and the added damage. The blood craze is really nice for the heal. Biting jabs, javelin. I use deadly cloak. I don't use power of the light. You can. I don't, because my organic stam is still a little low compared to some other builds I've run. But Deadly Cloak is going to go ahead and reduce the damage of area effect attacks by 25%. So if you think about Dawnbreakers, everything Warden does, storms, other people's jabs, a lot of ultis and a lot of abilities are AoE or have an AoE component. So you're reducing that damage by 25%, and you're also pulsing for a good amount of damage. So if you think like Hurricane on Stam Sorks, it's not that good or that large, but you do get some pretty good damage out of this. It's usually the damage of at least like another jab. So when you come in, you're all buffed up, and you go ahead and hit that Dawnbreaker, they're going to fall to the ground, you're going to start jabbing, and while you're jabbing, this Deadly Cloak is going to go ahead and pulse. On my back bar, I have Extended Ritual, Channeled Focus. Restoring Focus is nice. I don't really know if it's ever really kept me alive that much. So I switched to Channel Focus because between that and the Wind Running passive, we can keep more Purifies up. And since there's Defile and 9,000 effects everywhere in Cyrodiil, it doesn't hurt to have as much magic or regen as humanly possible. Shuffle, Repentance, Rally, and then Remembrance. I'd occasionally run Empowering Sweep here, or if you don't want to run Blade Cloak, you can put Power of the Light back here, put Repentance on the front bar, and then put Werewolf here, and just increases your regen exponentially. So you'd be at like over 1700 regen front bar, and then probably like 1800 regen on the back bar. But I usually tend to favor a little bit more damage, so there you go. What's next? So let's talk about the Mechanical Acuity set real quick. So Mechanical Acuity, the 3-piece, whatever. It's nice for Purify heals, I suppose. The Max Magicka, I mean, we only have the 4-piece on our offensive bar, so the Max Stam is effectively like 92 weapon damage, or so it's going to be, because it's only on our front bar. So when you deal damage, you have 15% chance to gain Unerring Mechanical Vision for 5 seconds, causing your attacks to always be a critical strike. This can occur once every 18 seconds. So the main thing with Mechanical Acuity is being able to control it. So if you can run around and do stuff on your back bar, or even if you put a dot on someone and like after your initial mechanical wears off and you don't want that to come into play and like just spontaneously make Mechanical Acuity proc, it's good to keep that on one bar. So if you can manage just the 5-piece on one bar, or the 4 and 5-piece in the one bar, as the way I'm doing it, you increase your ability to control it exponentially. And the cool thing about it is you can go around and say you have something else on your back bar, you can go ahead and damage, do whatever you gotta do, and you swap over. It's a 15% proc chance, so heavy attack rending is probably gonna proc it, but you're definitely gonna proc it by at least the end of your jabs, or with a Blade Cloak. So all your dots, all your heals, all your damage, all of it crits within that 5-second window. So you become like a walking damage pillar, if you will, and your heals just go through the roof because it's always critting. Now, I'm not running an Undaunted set because I honestly can't find one that I'm particularly a huge fan of. So I ran 3-piece Endurance. That keeps my health up to where I want it to be when you go into Cyrodiil. And then I put Alchemist on my back bar. So, as you saw before, your weapon damage skyrockets. So even just sitting here, our crits at about 40%, which isn't horrible. But with Mechanical Acuity, the cooldown starts the moment it procs. So you only have about 13 seconds in between your little 5-second windows of damage. So your average crit is going to be like 70-ish% between the two areas when you're down on crit and when you're up on crit. So the cool thing is you can kind of juggle Alchemist and Mechanical Acuity to keep your damage really high, because you're either going to have like 5300 weapon damage and 40% crit, or you're going to have, you know, 4k or 4700 weapon damage after your weapon damage glyph procs, and then 100% crit. Or you can go ahead and, like, when you do big pushes, you can combine both of them, and then you just have 100% crit and 5300 weapon damage. So it takes a little getting used to. I've had a lot of practice with Alchemist being my back bar and just knowing when the Mechanical Acuity proc is going to happen. So if you go ahead and you can play around with it, Mechanical Acuity, when it procs, it'll turn you blue. It's got a little automaton head or whatever. That's going to go ahead and queue up on the bottom, give you a little 5-second. But yeah, all these leads and everything in there is going to go ahead and crit. And that's awesome because it increases your damage exponentially in that window. So if you go back and forth between juggling them, you can have a pretty high uptime on the amount of damage as well as heals that you can put out that are essentially going to be on steroids or supercharged to some degree. So that's why I run those two sets. I've been absolutely loving it. I know some people are a little turned off. If that's the case, you can literally just run 4 mechanical acuity on the body, or sorry, 3 mechanical acuity on the body, 1 back bar weapon, and then your 2 front weapons, and then 5 bone pirate. You can run it with automaton, and then you can put whatever undaunted set you want on. You can run it with Spriggan, you can run it with Hulk and Draugr, however you feel. It's up to you. There's really only a finite amount of damage sets and or sustain sets in the game that are gonna pair with each other. All the medium armor sets are basically the same, plus or minus a line of stam, crit, regen, or what have you, and they're just going to have a weird or different 5-piece. So that's the deal with that. So if we go into our CP here, this is the way I like my CP. I'm not saying it's the best, but this is what I do. So we have 56 into Mighty, 37 into Piercing, 56 into Precise, 61 to Thumb. And then just to keep the Dawnbreakers up a little bit, or at least that initial part, we got 20 into Master at Arms. I don't put any into Blessed because I really, one, the Defile is going to destroy it, and then it's basically gone. And 2, it just doesn't, the return on investment for it isn't that great. So Green Tree, 37 into Tumbling, 75 into Mooncalf, 4 into Healthy, just because I don't know. 43 into Tenacity. The big ticket item here is Wind Running. So it's going to increase your movement speed and your mounted speed by 2%, and it's going to increase your health and magic recovery by 10% while you're sprinting. So you go ahead and pop your Vigor, you swap your bars because you're trying to get away and maneuver around. You pop your Channel Focus, and then while you're running, your health recovery is going to be a little bit higher, so this way you can get healed up. I'm sprinting a pretty good amount because I don't run a gap closer, and then your Magicka recovery is going to be increased by 10%. So when you're sprinting and you're moving to a new place, you functionally get a whole new bar of Magicka to go ahead and play around with. Moving on, I got 40 in a Warlord, 31 to Sprinter, just because I don't know why. Hold on. No, that's why. I previously... I'll do this. No, I can't do that. Never mind. Just cancel that. I used to put 1 point into Siphoner, just this way they had an extra negative effect on them, so this way they couldn't purge my dots, but... I mean, I'm swallowing health bars left and right out here, so... nothing in this tree. 37 Hardy, 37 Ellie Defender, 48 Thick-Skinned. That goes ahead and unlocks the Unchained passive. Your stamina user, you kind of want that. Some people have the rule of thought where, you know, after you break free, always cast Vigor. I'd usually cast Shuffle, just because I don't have to dodge roll after that or anything. And then you get DKs, and the amount of immobilization spams on Magicka users out there. It gives you some time to like be able to duck behind a corner. Then again, the situation dictates. So either way, 66 Ironclad and 42 into Resistant. So you want to try. I was running Impreg for a bit, and it was really nice. But you want to try to get like 2900 to 3K crit resist. No. Try not to go below 2600. That's bad juju. I think anything else that I can go over. For the most part, that's it, guys. It's pretty straightforward. Guess we'll talk about axes. I'm hitting like on really paper targets, like up to 15k Dawnbreakers with 2 axes. So I'm cool with having the 16% proc chance on a really strong bleed. Before I even buff myself up, that bleed is an extra 2600. Sorry, not 2600. 12,600. Oh, I guess I mentioned this. My back bar trait is Nerd Honed. Defending's nice. Powered's okay. I don't use infused, because I use poisons that do essentially what I want them to do. And then my infuse is on my main hand because I stay there most of the time. so just look at some fully buffed up tooltip values. Our Dawnbreaker. So our Dawnbreaker is going to get up to like 17 and 21. 21. We'll go up to about 15k. Something like Ranger I've never had to deal with here. Yeah, so also with the Nirnhone trait, it's a decent split between powered or anything else, because my heals are still going to stay high, and as a stamina user you're going to go ahead and have heals over time being your main thing, and then rally being your burst heal, if you really want to call it that, because like, it's really only 10 seconds when you can have a burst heal from it. But I like to keep Nirnhone back there because it keeps my bleeds ticking, so like the differential between my weapon damage when I'm on my two-hand bar versus when I'm on that isn't too terribly different, so I don't have to worry about my damage falling off too much. Like if you run a power trait back here, you lose that weapon damage, and like your dots that are still ticking out there in the world, or your heals that are still going, tend to fall a little bit. So I like to go ahead and keep it leveled out with the Nirn trait. Also, I had the axe crafted in Nirn when I was trying out a two-hand sword and board belt. So that's about it as far as I could think. Oh, food. I use lava soup and salt rice because I do have, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4 triglyphs on my armor, and the rest are stam. I don't know, that just gives me the values that I'm comfortable with. If I put more tri-stats on, it'd probably be a little bit lower in stam, and I wouldn't like that. And if I put any less on, I wouldn't be at that 23.9k or that 24 kind of comfort zone in Cyrodiil. It's important to remember line of sight with this build. I mean, you're fairly tanky, like kind of tanky, but you're still in medium armor. I don't know, you know, you're in some weird amalgamation of tanky and squishy. You can eat ultis pretty well, but like Nightblades are still out there, and if you don't have your vigor up, or you can't get line of sight or what have you, those single target abilities will start to kind of take their toll. It's important to remember to purify as much as you can. I usually wait for like 4 effects, or, you know, 1 Nightblade in cap, and then anytime you see a defile on your bar, it's usually a good time to purify, and then when like the left side of your screen fills up with debuffs, it's probably time to go ahead and purify. But other than that, it's the down and dirty on my build, guys. Good luck. See you in Cyrodiil.